All right. Good morning, everybody. First of all, shkach to Howard Karish. What's his name? Tzvi Nassan. Shkach for giving the share. Thank you very much. Very difficult over Yantif. Falling behind, not falling behind. So I want to thank everybody who helped and who pushed and to continue this year. All right. So we left off on the top of Mem Tes, Amud Aleph. Started with the Mishnah. Very famous, very important Amud. Mamash until like the bottom line. This is a yesod found throughout, I would say, especially Nashim, but even around Shas. So Ezu Mamzer, what is a Mamzer? Kol Sher Basar Shehu B'lo Yovo Div Rabbi Kiva. Says Rabbi Kiva, any lav, all right, any lav that has to do with being related, it has to do with in terms of a person's relationship, Mem Tes Amud Aleph in Yevamos, 49a1. So any lav that has to do with the relationship of that individual with someone. For instance, Machzer Gushaso, right? This woman is not usher to anybody else to go ahead and marry because she divorced the man. But since she divorced him, married somebody else, and then became single again. Now there is Isser lav to take her. That lav will create a mamzer. This is the shita of Rabbi Kiva found throughout Shas. This is basically the only machlokas that I remember throughout Shas. But Rabbi Kiva says that the mamzer comes from Chayvi Lavin of relationship. Shimon Teimani, who was also the opinion of the Rabbanan that we've seen earlier, any relation that a person had with that woman would be a chi of kares, the resulting child would be a mamzer. Halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Teimani. Rabbi Shua Aimer, and here Rabbi Shua is the most, I guess, makil, right? Because he says, "Aimer kol shechayav nolav Mrs. Bezdin." Any only not have to do with a regular kares, but it has to be a Mrs. Bezdin. For instance, your father's wife, right, or an Eishes Ish. Those would result in a mamzer. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Azai says, Rabbi Shimon ben Azai matzad Megillas Yuchsin. I found in Megillas Yuchsin, which is passed down. There's the scrolls that are passed down by Yerushalayim because of ish funny mamzer meishes ish the kaim div Rabbi Yeshua. Right? It says over there that a certain person was a mamzer because he was the result of a married woman, another man, and which that would also be the shita of Rabbi Yeshua. Now, right? Ishto shemesa. Now the Gemara is going to say, soon we're going to say at the end. We're going to try and finish the parak today. So Isha Shemesa, a person's man whose wife dies, mutter be'achaisa. He's now mutter in her sister, right? Mutter to go ahead and marry her sister, right? Even if he divorces his wife, he cannot go ahead. He's not permissible to her sister. But if she dies after her death, then he's mutter to go ahead and marry his wife's or his deceased wife's sister. And similarly, Gersha, if he divorced her, only Mesa and she dies, then mutter b'achaisa, that he's mutter to go ahead and marry her sister. Nises liacher, if she marries somebody else and he can no longer marry her, nevertheless, and she gets divorced from that person, he still can't marry the sister. However, Mesa, once she dies, then mutter b'achaisa, then he's mutter b'achaisa. And similarly, Yevimto, a person performs Yivim, and then only then the Yivama, then she dies, mutter b'achaisa, then he's mutter to her sister. Right, but otherwise, right, he would not be chalatzla. And similarly, if he does chalitza to a woman, he is forbidden to her sister. However, chalitza mesa, then the woman he did chalitza with dies. Then mutter b'achaisa, that is mutter b'achaisa. And these says liacher, and Zivama went ahead and he did chalitza, and she married somebody else, so mesa, and then she died. Only then mutter b'achaisa. Only then would he be permissible with to marry her sister. Fine, that was the Mishnah. Zok the Gemara. My time of Rabbi Kiva. What's the reason, according to Rabbi Kiva, who holds that a case of chayvi lavin? That is if it's only a transgression, that one would be chayiv for, let's say, malchus, right? Then nevertheless the resulting child is a mamzer. What's the reason? The pasuk says lo yikach ish as eishes aviv leget kanaf aviv. It's a very strange pasuk. The pasuk says over there a person should not take, right, the wife of his father and not lo yigale kanaf, and not reveal the kanaf aviv, right, the sleeve of his father, right? What does that mean? Kanaf aviv, right? Lo yigale kanaf aviv. Kanaf shara aviv lo yigale, right? Something the sleeve, right? The woman that the father, right, that his father revealed, lo yigale. What does that mean? The Sabbath like Rabbi Yehuda, holds like Rabbi Yehuda, the Omar ba'anusas aviv hakas medaber. So he already says his father's wife. So obviously, who's this referring to that his father was with? It refers to a woman that his father violated without kedushin, right? There was no marriage there. He violated her, right? He was with her. So such a woman is called anusas aviv, and therefore such a person is forbidden to go ahead and take her, right? Right, and it says there, which is the havi le chavi lav. It's a chavi lav. It's a lav, the samachle, and then this is a lav to take the anusas aviv, right? And there's right next to the pasuk of lo yova mamzer hakahal Hashem. It says mamzer shnai go. So we learn from here that the juxtaposition, right, of the psukim, that since this is a chavi lav, so all chavi lavin through relationships, right, are what would result in a mamzer. Alma, we see there.
Well, even if he just violated her,
right.
The father violated her, the son,
he wants to go ahead and marry her.
Yeah. He's considered mamzer?
Yes, the child's a mamzer. According to Rabbi Kiva. Because that's a lot, right? Alma, so Mahani, have you mamzer from this relationship from Lavin? What the result is a mamzer according to Rabbi Kiva. With Rabbi Simai, the Marbesh, and Rabbi Simai, who explains Rabbi Kiva, the Marbesh share chavi lavin, the lav share the share. According to Rabbi Simai, who includes not just lavin of the relationship between the man and that woman, such as, let's say, she was, machzer grushaso or anusas aviv, some other regular lav, right? Another lav that would stop a person from marrying such a woman. He includes that in the result in being a mamzer, and also the Rabbi Yishava, the marba afilu chavi asay, and even the chavi asay, right? It says, right, take this woman, and we infer from there that you can't take the other type of woman. So chavi asay nafkalu mivelo. There's the extra below, right? The pasuk says lo yikach ish es eshes aviv, right? Below you got the kanaf aviv, right? As the extra below comes to include even other types of either chavi asay according to Rabbi Yishava and according to Rabbi Simai, other types of lavin. That was the shita of Rabbi Kiva, which is the shita throughout Shas. The Shimon Timani, which is the Rabbana, when the pasuk says it's not referring to anusas aviv. Rather, it's referring to a woman, a shomeres yavam of your father. Now, who is the shomeres yavam of your father? It means it's your father's brothers, or father's brother who just died, his wife, right? Which is your aunt, right? Which is your father's brother's wife. And you know what? There's a kares there. So if she's the shomeres yavam, so forget the fact that my father is waiting to go ahead and do yibum with her. Rather, the bigger issue is that she was married to my father's brother, and therefore that's chayiv kares. The havile chavi krisis, the samachlei, and the pasuk is written right next to lo yavo mamzer. Alma, what do you see from here? Chavi krisis, havi mamzer. From chavi krisis, there is a mamzer. The result is a mamzer. For Rabbi Shua in the final shita. Just say the pasuk lo yigala. What is lo yikach? Right? Lo yikach sounds like marriage, right? Lo yikach, right? What is lo yikach? Lamali elalav hakikama. Rather, it's going to say mi lo yikach ad lo yigala havi mamzer. Only if he fills all of it. That was only if she was married to your father, right? She's married to your father. Then, which is Mrs. Bezdin, right? The woman was married to your father, is Mrs. Bezdin. Like, I gotta have a mamzer. It's fair, like have a mamzer, but anything else not a mamzer. So we learn from here that only somebody who is chiyuv Mrs. Bezdin results in a mamzer, but a regular kares and certainly only a lav that would not result in a mamzer according to Rabbi Yeshua. That was the machlekes. Fine. Amar Abaye. Switching gears, everyone agrees that one is bal anida, the al hasaita. To the page, right? So everyone agrees that a person is bal al anida, right? A woman who is impure, right? She has to go make for al hasota, or a ashes ish that has been bizana. She's also to her husband. She ain't have vlad mamzer, right? Right. So even if she was, she's waiting to go ahead and drink the sota water, nevertheless, and he has relations with her, and there's a child, the vlad is not a mamzer. Nida, what's the reason by Nida? Let's go ahead and explain. Kedushin, because Kedushin would work. And we know if Kedushin would work, if a person would go ahead and marry a Nida, the Kedushin is chal. Shnei as the pasuk says, "Vati nidasa alav, afilu b'shas nidasa tafs b'kedushin." Use the lashon of right, the lashon of tehi. Right, so Vatihi is lashon havya, right, which is a lashon of kedushin, and therefore even when she's a nida, tafs b'kedushin. Fine, and sota. Nami, Doha, Topsiva Kedushin, and also even Sota is a Kedushin. All right, and therefore a person is married to a Sota, right, and he has a child. So we know that the child is not a mamzer. And Tana Hachasim and Brisa, Hakol Maidim Valanido, Val Sota, Val Shomeres Yavam, Shena Vlad Mamzer. Right? The person is Balanida or Sota or a woman awaiting Yibum, that the Vlad is not a mamzer. The Abaye, and so Abaye, who said at the bottom of the previous Amud, he said just the case of Nida and Sota. Shomeres Yavam. Why didn't he include that case? Mispekule. Ikarav, Ikashmul. So because there's a machlekes between Rav and Shmuel, right? Rav, which is brought down the side, right? Rav holds over there that it says over there that Rav holds that the child of the Shomeres Yavam, so now for the Psukim, is a mamzer, and Shmuel learns that the child is not a mamzer. So since the machlekes Rav and Shmuel, therefore it's not clear whether a woman who is waiting yibum and somebody else goes ahead and has relations and has a child with her is a machlekes whether that's a mamzer or not. So therefore, Abai did not list that in his statement. He just listed Nida and Sota. A Kohen marries, yeah, right. That would be a lot. Only, but not even according to so according to Rabbi Akiva, right? Yeah, according to Rabbi Akiva.
Right, we don't hold it. We don't have to.
Right. So we said Rabbi Shimon Razai says he saw in the Megillas Yuchsin, Satani Shimon Razai, Omer Matzas Megillas Yuchsin B'Yushalayim, the Kosovo, and it was written over there, Ish Ploini Mamzer Me'eshes Ish. It says over there that Ish Ploni, a certain person was born. He's a mamzer because he was the result of his mother was married to somebody else and a different father. The Kostava, Mishnas Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Kalbanaki. It was also written by Mishnas Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, right? That this is Kavanaki. Now, is this Girsa is clear, right? It's clear. In other words, and this is something that we hold. Now, it's not necessarily a stira because Shuna Temani will not disagree. Right, that the child is a mamzer. He just does, it's overkill. You don't need to have a piece of space then to be a child to be a mamzer. The cost, but he also wrote it over there for all those Navi people, right? You guys can step up to the plate. Menashe Harag as Yishaya. So Menashe that he killed, I think he was his grandfather, right? Yishaya. So Amar Rav. Says, Rav, what happened? He brought him to din and he killed him. So what was the din? So Moshe Rabbeinu says in the Torah, it says, a man cannot see me and live. And you write, right, that you go ahead and you see Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu says you can't see Hashem. You say you see Hashem. Right, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote to whoever calls out to Hashem, right? You call out to him, he'll be there, right? Right? You said only seek Hashem, right? And you can find him only if you seek him. In other words, you don't always see him. So Moshe Rabbeinu says you can always find him, and you say you can't find him. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Moshe Rabbeinu says that your years, your destined years, I will fill. In other words, you have a potential of years, and you can gain up to that amount of time. You say, you say Hashem added 15 years to the life, right? So over there, he added. In other words, it seems to be that's more than what was destined to him. There was additional 15 years added on. So Amar Yishio, so he says, Yadani be the mikabo ma de malay. I know I can go ahead and be mataritz of what Pshat is, but I know he's not going to listen to me. The Ema, Menashe's not going to listen. The Emalay Esha amazing. And if I tell him and I explain to him, he kills me anyways, then he's going to be amazing. So Amar Hashem, so he says Shem Hashem Eva be'arza, and he basically turned into the cedar, right, and turned to the wood, right, into a tree. So Asmi la'arza v'nasrua. Right, so I guess Menashe went to go ahead and chop down the tree with an axe, right? And when he got to his mouth, I guess his mouth was open, right? Or he chopped him the tree, and he was in the tree, and he chopped the tree with the axe, and he made, and he killed him. Basically, the axe went into his mouth. Why dafka this way? Right? Now, because he once said, right? I'm sitting amongst impure people, right? The Jewish people, right? They talk with impure mouths, and I live amongst them. So because of punishment for saying that Bnei Israel had impure mouths, and therefore he was punishment through the mouth. Nevertheless, Mikol Makom, Kashu Krayadadi. Okay, nevertheless, let's go back to three good questions, right? He says you could have answered, but you didn't. You didn't want to be mazed. So what were the answers? So now let's go into it. So Kashu Krayadadi, Beres Hashem, and go ahead and see Hashem. To the tiny call Ravim Nistaklo, Be Aspa Klaria, Sheda Meira. All the other Navim, they saw right through their vision, Hashem, right? It was through a glass that wasn't clear, right? They thought, it wasn't as clear. However, Moshe Rabbeinu Stakel, Basmaklaria, Hameira, he saw very clear. So therefore, they didn't see it through very clear, and therefore they thought they saw Hashem. But Moshe Rabbeinu, who saw with such clarity, he realized that you can't see Hashem. And there, Hashem even so, right? If you go B'tzibur, then they could always be found, right? You go B'tzibur, HaKadosh Baruch Hu he'll always listen. But if you go B'Yachid, only sometimes you'll be listened, and other times not. And when is that? B'Yachid Emas, and when is that? When can the Yachid find HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And that's the Seres Yemei Tshuva are the days that are found between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. As Mispar Yamecha Malay. So tonight it's actually Machlokes Tanaim. The Tanya we learned as Mispar Yamecha Malay. And you're the days of your years. I'll go ahead and fill. So Elu Shnei Dairos Zacha. Right. So these are the years of the generations, the years of people. Zacha Mashlimin Lo. If he is Zeicha, then we're Mashlim that he can go ahead and live out. Turn the page. Right. He can go out and live out his years. Loi Zacha. But if he's not Zeicha, then his years are diminished, right? But Diva Rebbe Kiva, that's been Rebbe Kiva. So Rebbe Kiva, a person has potential.
No, some say you can't get it reduced. You can get it increased.
Well, as I say, right. So according to Rebbe Kiva, so he says if you're Zeicha, you could have it filled, and if you're not Zeicha, it will be decreased. However, Chamimrim Zacha, if he's Zeicha, Ma'isifin lo, then he can even add to what he's usually destined. But if he's not, then it can be diminished. So it can go either way. It says over there, I added 15 years to your life. So the Mishalai is right? No, it doesn't mean that he was given an additional 15 years. It means he was given back 15 of his own years. You should know why. Because the Navi got up and said, Hine ben Naila lebeis David. Yishai Shemo, there will be a child born to the base David. Yishai Shemo. Menashe, right? And Menashe was not right. Who was Yoshia's grandfather wasn't even born yet, right? So he had to come. The grandfather had to live long enough in order to have a child. But if those 15 years weren't there, right? That. Then he wouldn't have been born. So how did the Navi say he was born? Obviously, obviously in this case he was destined to live that long, which is why the Nevuah said that that he was going to have this child. So it must be that the 15 years were given back when he had the child in order to have the grandchild. Right? It wasn't something that was additional. It was something that was originally there, taken away, then given back. I've what was the right answer to that? So Miksi Michizkiah. Who says Mechizka? Maybe Mechizka could have died earlier, not with those 15 years. Lebeis David says to the house of David, whether it's from Mechizka or somebody else. If he didn't get those 15 years, right, which he got 15 additional years according to Rabbanan, then he wouldn't have been born. And finally, so we said we had a whole list of 6 relationships in our Mishnah. And we said that once the wife dies, and you can marry a sister, or your chalutz dies, right, so on and so forth, or 3 cases from the wife, she married somebody else, and she was divorced, right, you can go ahead and marry your sister. And Amar Rav Yosef, man shana Rabbi Menashe shein tzricha. So over here, so kan shana Rabbi Menashe shein tzricha. Excuse me. Amar Rav Yosef, kan shana Rabbi Mishneh tzricha. Over here, Rabbi taught that this is a Mishneh shein tzricha. Why? Because these halachas are first pasuk. First pasuk says only during your wife's lifetime is her sister forbidden, but once she dies, then she's mutter. So therefore, really, the Mishnah didn't need to go ahead and teach us this because we already know it's midaraisa. And Hachalach, Hachodetz, Yeshikayach, everybody, to finishing the 4th parak tomorrow.